السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستهديه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أن أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم: يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله ولو على أنفسكم أو الوالدين والأقربين إن يكن غنيا أو فقيرا فالله أولى بهما فلا تتبعوا الهوى أن تعدلوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah An-Nisa, O you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it's against yourselves or your parents or your relatives, whether one is rich or poor, Allah is more worthy of both. So don't follow your hawa, your personal inclination, lest you not be just. The topic to discuss today, inshallah, is a story that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran. Before we get into the story, I'll ask a question, a hypothetical, and let's just answer for ourselves how we would react. Assume I have a very rude neighbor. Every interaction I've had with this individual neighbor, they've been very impolite. I'm always nice to them. They can throw trash at my front door. They insult me, profanities, racism, and so on and so forth. In my neighborhood, someone's house gets robbed. And everyone accuses this rude neighbor. The neighbor gets arrested. And after this happens, I learn the truth. The neighbor was not the real thief. The person who robbed the house was actually my best friend, my cousin, my brother, my son, my nephew. No one knows this. I only found out by coincidence. So I go to this person, to my relative, and I say, I know it was you who did it. And they say to me, please be quiet. Please don't tell anyone. Protect me. We're family. We're friends. You will ruin our family's reputation if you tell the truth. What do I do? The lesson from the Quran today is an important topic. It's the topic of justice, al-adl. The concept that is so important that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose that one of His 99 attributes is al-adl, the very source of justice. The concept that is so important that if justice is gone from society, If there's no justice in any country, everything becomes corrupted. Everything is spoiled. When justice is gone, we lose everything. There's no justice. So dictators around the world can oppress and murder and mass arrest and nothing happens. There's no justice. So a terrorist apartheid regime can commit a mass genocide in broad daylight, and it's broadcasted on all of our phones and all of our TV screens, and the civilized, so-called civilized world watches. There's no justice, so a government can kill 500,000 citizens in Syria or 1 million civilians in Iraq, and the world watches. There's no justice, so police and cops in this very country can kill an unarmed black man every week, and nothing happens. When justice is gone, everything becomes corrupt. Some of us have been watching recently at the International Court of Justice, South Africa, accusing the terrorist regime of Israel of committing genocide against our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And many Muslims cheered this on like it was a victory. Brothers and sisters, respectfully, we should be more educated than this. While we can applaud South Africa's actions, we should understand these are all theatrics. The ICJ has no enforcement power, meaning that even if they find Israel guilty, they have no way to hold this terrorist entity accountable. The reason that a criminal is afraid when they're standing before a judge in a courtroom is not because they're scared of the judge. It's because on both sides of the judge, there are police officers. And if the judge finds the criminal guilty, what are those cops going to do? They're going to arrest the criminal. But if the judge has no power, then where's the justice? Then they can find Israel guilty and they say, thank you very much. We'll keep taking our tax money here and keep killing more Muslims. So we should be more educated and understand what truly makes a difference. And we've gone through a lot of the actions that we can do here that could make a difference. One of them that we'll focus on in the coming months, making a difference in our own country, which is funding and enabling this genocide. What makes a difference is every single one of us getting involved in local and state and federal elections coming up to punish every person who supported and enabled this genocide by removing them from power. But when I see the lack of justice at a global scale, and we'll talk more about that inshallah as we come closer to the elections. When I see the lack of justice at a global scale, and I say, if I was in power, things would be different. Let's now take this back to me and you. What does justice mean to me? Am I someone who cares about justice, who cares about honesty? Maybe I may not be a president or a judge or a military leader. I'm just one person. But how do I uphold justice? As a husband, as a wife, as a parent, with my children, with my neighbors, with my coworkers, with my employees if I'm a boss. If you're a businessman and you run your own business, do I take advantage of my customers who might be ignorant of the value of the goods that they're buying? I'm at a grocery store and I see a car hit another parked car, a hit and run. And now the owner of the car that got hit comes out of the grocery store and he asks, anyone see who did this? Do I tell them who did it? Sure. Let's make it a little bit more difficult. What if the owner of the car that got hit is someone that I cannot stand? Do I still tell them? Yeah? Let's make it more difficult. What if the person who hit and run was my relative, was my brother, my sister, my husband, my wife, my mother or father, my son or daughter? Would you tell the person it was actually my nephew, it was actually my cousin, it was actually my best friend who hit your car accidentally? What if it's your relative who committed a crime and someone else who's innocent takes the blame for it? I know these are difficult questions, but let's be honest with ourselves. Would I tell the truth no matter how much it hurts me? Because the sad thing is we complain about injustice in the world, in Palestine, in Iraq, in Syria, in China, here in the United States. We complain about politicians being dishonest. But are we all right with dishonesty in our own lives? Do we lie in our own lives? We complain about injustice. My young brothers and sisters who are out there protesting, I hear you. I'm with you. No justice, no peace. Over there. What about here? What about no justice in my life? Am I applying that in my life? Do we uphold justice ourselves? Look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about justice. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يَأْمُرُ بِالْعَدْلِ وَالْإِحْسَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands Justice and excellence. In another verse, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين لله شهداء بالقسط ولا يجرمنكم شنآن قوم على ألا تعدلوا اعدلوا هو أقرب للتقوى. Oh, you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice. Every time justice is brought up in the Quran, be persistently, over and over and over, standing firm no matter what. And do not let the hatred of a people stop you from being just. اعدلوا. Be fair. This is closer to righteousness in Surah Al-Ma'idah. Do we ever do that? Do we ever let the hatred of someone, I say something bad about them, because I have an animosity between me and them? Because I have a problem with someone, so I'm unfair to them? I know that they're being treated unfairly, but I can't stand this person anyway. You know what? They deserve it. Do you see in our beautiful Quran, is there any man-made constitution that is this beautiful, that focuses so much on justice, on the truth, on doing what is right, even if it hurts me? Listen to the next verse, the one that we started with. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُونُوا قَوَّامِينَ بِالْقِسْطِ شُهَدَاءَ لِلَّهِ وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ أو الوالدين والأقربين. Oh, you who believe, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it's against yourselves, even if it hurts me or my parents or those or my relatives. Have I ever done that? Have I ever lied to get myself out of trouble? Because if I was just, if I was honest, it would hurt me or someone I love. The story from the Quran is a story of justice, from the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ that happened about 2 years after the Hijrah. Before we get into exactly what happened, I'll give you a little bit of context. We know the Prophet ﷺ was in Mecca for 13 years. The Muslims traveled to many cities that they can finally find a place of refuge, and they landed in Medina. What's the problem with Medina? You have Aus and Khazraj. You have two tribes that have generations of war between the two of them. You also have Christians. You have 3 Jewish tribes who live there. You have hypocrites among the Muslims who are trying to break up between people. This is very complicated. Here today we have a melting pot. Back then, there was no such thing. Tribes lived with each other, and that's it. Every person and their tribe and their family. There were no cultures that melted in with each other. So it was the Prophet ﷺ's job to bring all these people together. So what happened? What's the story? The Sahaba are going through very tough times. There's a lot of poverty. And a man named Rafa'a ibn Nu'man, he was a new Muslim. He had a shield. Rafa'a obtained this shield as a spoil of war. This is a nice shield. It's like when, it's having the nicest car out there that no one else has. 2 days after Rafa'a gets this shield, it is stolen. Rafa'a is from Al-Aus, all right? Someone from Khazraj is accused of stealing the shield. His name is Bashir. So people say, Bashir, who is from Khazraj, stole the shield. And a man from Aus went to the Prophet ﷺ. And he tells them, someone from Khazraj stole the shield. I saw him do it. And the Prophet ﷺ gets very upset. Why? It's another Muslim who stole from a Muslim. Now what's going to happen? The hypocrites are going to make a big deal out of this, and the Jewish tribes are going to make a big deal out of this. The Muslims are stealing from each other. It's going to cause more problems between Aus and Khazraj. Big problem. So he starts an investigation. And then what happens? Alhamdulillah, good news. 3 people from Khazraj come and say, no, it was not one of us who stole the shield. It was not our brother Bashir. It was actually a Jewish man whose name is Zayd. Go check Zayd's backyard, and you will see that the shield is buried underneath his backyard. Go search his house. So the Prophet ﷺ sends people to search the house. They look through the house. They go to the backyard, and they, in fact, dig up the shield that was buried in the backyard. Alhamdulillah, the problem is over, right? The tribesmen from Khazraj come to the Prophet ﷺ and tell him, we were accused. Our brother here, Bashir, was accused. That was unfair. That was injustice. You have to defend him. He was falsely accused of stealing by the Aus people, by the Aus tribe. And so the Prophet ﷺ stands on the minbar and he says, Bashir did not steal the shield. And then he looks at the man who accused Bashir from Aus, and he says to him, جِئْتَنِي بِغَيْرِ بَيِّنَةٍ. You came to me with no evidence. You accused another Muslim without any proof. You shouldn't have done that. And the man says, I wish I'd never said anything. That's what I saw. I saw him do it. Maybe I was wrong. Astaghfirullah. Everything is fine. Everyone prays Isha in the masjid, and we all go to sleep. Jibreel alayhi salam descends from the heavens before Fajr prayer to tell the Prophet ﷺ what? Ya Rasulullah, the Jewish man is innocent. the man who actually stole the shield was Bashir from Khazraj. What happened? The Muslim from Khazraj actually did steal the shield. And the man who saw him, he saw what he saw. And he was accurate. But what happened? When Bashir found out that the news would get to the Prophet ﷺ that I stole something from someone, he figured, who can I blame this on? I'll blame this on the Jewish man, on my neighbor. And I'll just hop the fence, the border between my home and his, and I'll take the shield and I'll bury it into his backyard. So if someone else finds it, the Muslims will want to believe that a Jew stole from a Muslim, not that we're stealing from each other. So he does exactly that. And then he goes to his relatives and he says, look, I'm going to admit what I did. I did steal the shield. I will never do this again, but you have to protect me. This is our family's name. This is our reputation. Go to the Prophet and tell him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that you saw a Jewish man steal it and it'll be found in his house, I promise you. And they agree. They agree to lie so they can protect their relative, so they can protect their reputation and their family name. And Jibreel alayhi salam descends and he tells the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person you defended was a liar. You as a prophet, it's not appropriate for you to defend him. What happened was injustice. And you see how quickly it happened. Between Isha and Fajr, before Fajr Adhan, justice had to be revealed. This is how important justice and the truth is in our faith. How important is it to me? How important is it to me? Or do I just go out there and no justice, no peace, and what's happening is injustice and this, but I don't apply it in my life? But I lie to my spouse? But I don't treat my kids fairly? But I haven't talked to an aunt or uncle of mine for months because I don't like someone else, but they didn't come to this person's wedding and they were late in this gift. I don't treat my family with justice. I don't treat my coworkers with justice. I lie to people to get ahead. I cheat at school. I cheat on my exams. How can we say we are people of justice if we don't apply it in our own lives? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends Jibreel alayhi salam from the heavens so that a lie would not spread. How many lies have I told? How many lies have I spread? How many injustices have I committed? And look at the verses that are revealed in Surah An-Nisa. إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَا إِلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ بِالْحَقِّ لِتَحْكُمَ بَيْنَ النَّاسِ بِمَا أَمَرَكَ اللَّهُ وَلَا تَكُنْ لِلْخَائِنِينَ خَصِيمًا. Oh, indeed, we have revealed to you, O Muhammad, the book in truth, so that you may judge between people by what Allah has shown you. And so you are not an advocate for the dishonest, deceitful people. وَاسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. Seek forgiveness from Allah, for indeed Allah is all forgiving, all merciful. وَلَا تُجَادِلْ عَنِ الَّذِينَ يَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَهُم. Do not argue, O Prophet ﷺ, on behalf of those who deceive themselves. Indeed, Allah does not love the one who is a sinful deceiver. هَا أَنْتُمْ هَؤُلَاءِ جَادَلْتُمْ عَنْهُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Here you are, O Prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, you argued for them, for the liars. You argued on behalf of them in this worldly life. Sure. فَمَنْ يُجَادِلِ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَمَّنْ يَكُونُ عَلَيْهِمْ وَكِيلًا. Ya Allah, such powerful verses. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, you argued on his... Now, of course, the Prophet ﷺ didn't know, right? But Allah is saying, you argued on behalf of this liar in this worldly life. Who's going to argue on his behalf on the Day of Judgment? Who's going to be their representative in front of me when I judge them? You defended them now. Who's going to defend them on the Day of Judgment? Have I ever thought about lying in this way? Okay, lying got me out of some trouble now. What will get me out of trouble on the Day of Judgment when I'm standing before the ultimate judge, the source of justice, Allah? Who'll get me out of that trouble? Who's going to defend me then? So the Prophet ﷺ stands before the Muslims and announces, Zayd, the Jewish man, is innocent. It was Bashir, after all, the man from Khazraj who stole from his fellow Muslim in Aus. Brothers and sisters, this is our religion. You see how much justice and fairness and honesty is important in our deen. Again, I have to keep going back and saying, how important is it to you and I? Where is justice in my home, in my family, in my relationship with my spouse, in my work? So what happens between Aus and Khazraj? Isn't this going to cause more tension between them? Won't this cause more problems? Justice is more important. The Prophet ﷺ says, if Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, stole, Muhammad would punish her. I don't care if it's my own daughter. Justice is the priority. What about Zayd, the Jewish man? What happened to him? The Quran was revealed to exonerate him. Did he embrace Islam? No. And this is a beautiful lesson. Justice should be served no matter what, regardless of the results. If he had converted, we would have focused on he embraced Islam because of justice. No, that's not the point. The point is justice is applied. It's a principle, regardless of the consequences. And what did Bashir, the thief, who now everyone knows, not just did he lie, he stole and he lied about, what did he do? Now everyone knows he's the one who stole it. He just dug himself deeper into a hole. He ran away. He went to live with a non-Muslim tribe. He didn't face his mistakes. He ran away. Do I ever do that? Do I get caught in a lie and then lie again and dig a deeper hole to get myself out of it, and then lie again and dig a deeper hole to get myself out of it? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. We ask Him to help us be those who stand firm in justice. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. We talked about justice and the evil in oppressing others, whether they be family, people I work with, people I love, or people I hate. But I want to end on one note, inshallah. One person that I might oppress more than anyone else is myself. And when we say this, I wonder, how can I oppress myself? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers in the Quran, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا أَوْ يَظْلِمْ نَفْسَهُ. In Surah An-Nisa, anyone who does evil or wrongs themselves or oppresses themselves. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم. Those who commit an immorality or wrong themselves. That when we wrong, the way that we wrong or oppress ourselves is by committing sin. It is by giving all of the opportunity to do good and choosing not to, or consciously choosing to keep making the wrong decision over and over again. It's only when I've learned to stop oppressing myself can I stop oppressing others. When I lie to hurt someone, I don't realize I'm actually hurting myself as well. That I'm corrupting a part of my soul by telling a lie. When I treat someone unfairly, when I cheat, when I steal, when I cut corners, the one I'm really wronging, the one I'm actually oppressing is myself. So for those of us who have fallen into that mistake, and all of us have fallen into that, what is there to do? Well, complete the verse. وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ سُوءًا أَوْ يَظْلِمْ نَفْسَهُ ثُمَّ يَسْتَغْفِرِ اللَّهَ يَجِدِ اللَّهَ غَفُورًا رَحِيمًا. If anyone commits an evil or wrongs themselves, and then afterwards seeks forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will find that Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ. And those who, when they commit an immorality or wrong themselves by transgression, they remember Allah and they seek forgiveness for their sins, until the end of the verse. أولئك جزاؤهم مغفرة من ربهم وجنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ونعم أجر العاملين. For them, the reward is forgiveness from their Lord, and gardens beneath which rivers flow, wherein they will abide eternally. And excellent is the reward of those who do good. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to be those who implement justice in our lives. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring justice to our brothers and sisters facing oppression around the world. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وقنا واصرف عنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك وصلى الله وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Quick dua requests for our brothers and sisters who are feeling ill. Zeng Yuan Pai, Abdul Hadi, Noreen Goraya, Salima Khan, Yasmin Shakir, and Fawziya Malik. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring them shifa. And a deceased Zafar Nabi Jafri, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them the highest levels of Firdaus and grant their family with patience. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen wa aqim as-salah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
So, Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. الله سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.